Hi, I'm Dark Shades, and this video is about how to maintain a winning relationship. Now you've been going out, and it's absolutely wonderful, you're still in honeymoon phase, and you want to know how to maintain that. I find that when things goes wrong, it's usually because somebody's overstepped the boundaries, they've lost respect, or they're taking either party for granted. And that is the key factors of when relationships start facing challenges. So it's important that you keep the communication open. It doesn't matter if somebody crosses the boundaries, but you need to let them know about it. If somebody disrespects you, you need to point it out, because each person is coming from a different place and they might not realize they've disrespected you or that you've interpreted it as disrespect. So it's important that you communicate effectively and you listen and you ensure what the other person likes, and you take notes. Sometimes you don't want to say anything, but they might talk about something that's happened at work or what's happened in the shop or something. That will give you an indication of the kind of things that they like from what they don't like. So keep the flow going, communicate about all different things, about your days at work, what's on the news. So you keep that flow going. That will also tell you that you are compatible. If you can talk just amongst yourselves and not necessarily in a crowd. Some people, they always have people around and they don't even realize they can't communicate because there's always been people around. So you have to make sure that you've got people around. You've got to make sure that you can speak on your own. And then you've got sharing. And that could be anything from sharing ideas, from sharing thoughts, from even sharing clothes. Some people don't like you to wear their clothes, but I think it's quite endearing when you've got your partner's t-shirt on and sloppy joes, and they've got, well, normally they don't wear women's clothes, but sometimes you see a man, flip-flopping in his wife's or his partner's slippers, and I think it's so endearing. I love to see that. And it shows that they're not too fussed about what it looks like. Of course, there's consideration. That's a key, because that's what I was referring to at the beginning of this video. And they don't, they've done all the, like sometimes when the woman cooks, it's just nice if the man will say, look, you've cooked, darling, sit down, put your feet up, I'll wash up and put the stuff away. And then they wash up and they don't have all the water all over the place, and they haven't left everything dripping, and the wet cloth is on the side dripping. Please, brothers, don't do that. If you're going to wash up, just do it nicely. Do it as you've seen it. Make sure everything is dry, everything is clean, so that it looks as though you've done it with a good heart. Because sometimes you can see what the kitchen looks like. And then you go and do a sloppy job, and then you say, oh, you don't appreciate what I've done. It's not about not appreciating what you've done, fellas. It's about, knowing how to do a job properly. Now, if I wash up, I know my standards aren't your standards, but if I wash up and put stuff on the rack or whatever, I wipe up all the excess water. And that's all we're asking you to do. So make sure if you are helping out in that way, that you do it properly. What else? Paying your way is a good one. That's an important one as well, because, that's another thing that makes relationships break up. My mum always said, when poverty strikes, love goes through the window. So make sure you're paying your way. The pressure's not on her. There's no burden on her because you're there. Or because you're both in a relationship. Nobody is burdening the other. She's not burdening you by her presence, and you're not burdening her by your presence. So the two of you are coming with equal footing, and you can contribute fairly. What else? Showing affection. Sometimes as relationships go on, the affection dies out for some reason. It's always good to maintain that affection, whether it's a peck on the cheek, when they're not expecting it, or they're lying down and you go and hug them, or you lie on top of them, or all those little bits of endearment. Keep them going. Don't let them die. It's really important, and it makes a man feel appreciated. Appreciation is another key aspect of a winning relationship. So you've done the sharing affection, where you're touching, spooning, playing, kissing, all of those kind of things. It's nice, and it shows that you're appreciative. So now you're showing appreciation. You acknowledge what they do for you, and that goes both ways, of course. You acknowledge what each other does. You affirm what they do, and you give them, you tell them, actually, look, I really appreciated you doing so and so, or I really loved it when you did blah blah blah, and I really love you for doing that. So they know. A lot of men, they do little bits of stuff and nobody says anything, so they don't even know if they're on the right track. And then they get a bit frustrated, and they feel neglected, and they feel unloved. So we don't want that to happen. Another important factor is, of course, being intimate. If you can't be intimate, I don't know why you're together. So that should go without saying. But you'd be surprised at how many people hold intimacy to ransom, and they don't give it up for one reason or another reason. And I'm not saying you need to give it up all the time, but how was it before? That's your gauge. How was it before it reached this point? That's what you need to maintain. No point meeting somebody and having it off every 5 minutes in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the bedroom, on the living room floor, and then after a couple of months it's like you don't even want to do it every month. Something's not quite right there. So maintain that intimacy. Try to remember what it was that lit your fire, and hopefully it can light it again. Sometimes what turns people off of sex is something simple. It could be like he farts too much, or you've noticed he started smoking and his breath smells, so you don't want to kiss him, or you realise he didn't have a bath or a wash for a couple of days, and you're like, oh, a bit scornful. So communicate, because communicate breaks down all those barriers and puts things on an even keel. So you're going to allow them their space. They're allowed to go out with their friends. They're not allowed, it's a part of the relationship. Both of you should have your space, whether it's space outside the home or space inside the home. You're both entitled to that space, and it's important in order to rejuvenate, recoup, reflect. And also you need it so you can follow your hobbies and interests. You can't have somebody around you 24/7. It's just not healthy. Well, I don't think it is. So. And last but not least, you've got your space. You spend time with friends and relatives, and and you go out. All those things you did when you were dating. You go out and you spend time together. Go for walks, have picnics, and just be warm and friendly and touchy-feely. And that is your way to maintaining a winning relationship. I'm sure you've got it down packed.